Kia ora, welcome to the mat. Thank you for joining today. We're going to have a look at a few ideas that you can use and incorporate into your day in the morning when you wake up or in the evening before you go to bed. These are amazing, life-changing. I use them in my daily practice, and I just target certain areas in my body, doing a little bit of myofascial release with a few things that you might already have lying around your house. Or you can invest in them for not very much money. The first thing is you can cut up a broomstick if you've got an old broomstick, or just get a piece of doweling from any hardware store. Depends on what size you want. The smaller you go, the more intense. The bigger, the more gentle. So maybe start a bit bigger. A tennis ball. If you go to the dog park, you can find an old one, or you can get them from the warehouse for like $3. And a yoga block. You can use a Harry Potter book, that works as well, or you can get these online. I like to use the ecoyogastore.co.nz. I think they have got great products, and they're a great business to support. So there's more information about all of that on my website as well, which is just there, the mat, yoga.co.nz. So we're going to start having a look at some areas to release in our body. So I'm going to come into a standing position, and we're going to release first into our feet. So you're going to take your piece of doweling, and you're going to bring it up, and you can roll out into the arches of the feet. And I'm getting into this real juicy bit right at the bottom of my foot, and putting quite a lot of weight down onto it. And you can see how it feels. If it's quite tight in there, you might do one foot at a time. And if you are wanting to get a little bit more, I want to say juicy because it's just so, it feels good though. You can do the full weight of your body in both feet, and just go up. And you can go all the way back to the heels and get the sinewy bits in your heels. If you find a spot that feels really good, like right in there, you can just stay there and just gently roll it out. And so we're releasing the fascia and the connective tissue in the bottom of the foot. And if you imagine every step that you take, everywhere you go, you're always on your feet, and you're always using this tissue, and it's always being loaded and unloaded. And so to actually just give some care and attention to this part of the body is just so valuable. So that's the first spot that I spend a bit of time on, especially at the end of the day. And I find already after doing this, even just for a couple of minutes, I start to just sort of relax, and I feel more grounded and more connected. I think our connection to the earth is through our feet, especially when we're standing. And so having something like this to just take the day off and just kind of roll it away can be really therapeutic in a metaphorical sense as well as a physical one. So that's the first one that I wanted to show you. Then you can come on down onto your knees, and if your knees are tender or you've got any damage there, you can put a blanket underneath to give you a bit of extra support. And then you can get into the calves here. So you're going to just gently roll that out. And I use this a lot actually with athletes that I work with, so basketball and netball players, tennis players, anybody that's got sort of a lot of jumping and gets quite tight in the Achilles and in through the back of the calves. And this will also be really awesome for your downward dog if you sort of struggle to get your heels down to the ground. Just doing a little bit of this, and you can play with how much pressure you apply. So I'm putting quite a lot of pressure. I've got quite strong muscle fiber, so I like to release it, but you'll feel what resonates in your body and what feels good. So you can adjust that as you need it, but you just roll through there. And also check in with your breath. Make sure that your breath is really gentle and easy here so that you're able to release the body in a gentle way. And then from your calves, once you've done some releasing into there, you can come all the way down to lying on your tummy, and you can get into your quadriceps. So you can come down onto your elbows, and you might roll forward and back, and just get right up into the tops of the quads. And you can spend a bit of time in there and releasing the quads as well. And then once I've done those 3 areas, I get into my tennis ball, and I like to use my tennis ball and my IT band. So you can come to lie down on your side and get in sort of 3/4 of the way up your leg, your thigh, and on the sort of outer part, you can roll into there. And when you get the right spot, you can feel it. You know that you're in the right area, because it gives you that feedback, and your body just goes, oh. Again, IT bands get quite tight when we do a lot of running, hiking, walking, standing, even sitting. So any time we're using and weighting our legs, we're asking much of our IT bands, and they take a lot of use and abuse, and so giving them a bit of love and a bit of attention is going to be really beneficial. So if you do one side, you always make sure to do the other side. Get into both sides, and one side might feel a lot more tight than the other. You might find that one side holds more tension for whatever reason. Sometimes we have an injury or an imbalance. We just tend to favor something that's easier on one side than on the other. Our bodies are not symmetrical. So you might find that you spend longer on one side than the other as well in order to get the same amount of release. So you are in charge of your body and responsible for what's going on in there. So the more that we do these kinds of exercises and spend time releasing these areas, the more we get better at listening to what our body's telling us and giving it what it needs. And so once you've done both sides of your IT band and rolled that out, nice and gentle in there, you can come to lie all the way down on your back and get into your glutes. So you're going to take the ball again, take your ankle and bring it up across your knee, and you're going to take the ball underneath the same glute as the bent knee. You're going to bring it up into the outside of the glute and drop the knee down, and you can roll around in there. And again, as soon as it's like when you get a massage, as soon as you find that spot that's tight in that trigger point, you can stay there. And then I like to really send my breath and my energy down into where the sensation is so that I can release it. So I'm using my mind and my breath to help my body physically to release. So that's a really nice way to get into that tightness. So you release out and gently tweak out and tease out all that tension. And the fascia and the myofascial, and there's more and more research being done around it, and it's an interesting sort of phenomenon in the body, and they reckon now actually that it carries similar functions to the nervous system, in such that it gives responses to the body. It has almost like a sensory function, and it also holds a feedback that we get. And so it's what helps our muscles to slide past each other, what helps our everything to move smoothly. And so paying some attention to it and helping it to release and create space is going to create some opening around the muscles as well. So there's value in doing this even before or after a yoga practice. I'm just going to get into the other side. So it can definitely add a lot to any kind of yoga practice or any practice that you're doing. It doesn't have to be yoga. You can do this if you're a climber or a mountain biker or a skier or a golfer, anything that you're doing to use your body. A dog walker, even if you're a couch sitter, own it and then get on the mat and do a little bit of this, and you'll start feeling better in any way that you use your body. So I'll just take a few more breaths here just to even it out and make sure I get both sides. And I like to sort of, once I've finished with my lower body, and again, you can spend as long or as short a time as you like, but I like to just kind of give myself a little squeeze and maybe a little twist as well, just to unwind out of that, and maybe just stretch it out and give yourself a deep breath and let that all settle in the body so that you can really let all of that integrate. And then I'm going to move up into my shoulder. So I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to bring it up in between my shoulder blade and my spine. There's a little bit of a fleshy part that's just in there. So I'm going to lie down on the ball and have a play with how I adjust my shoulder. So again, you'll find as soon as you get into the right spot, you'll know, because you'll feel it, and you can hug this arm across. So I'm getting into this right shoulder blade. I'm not actually on the bone of my scapula of the shoulder blade. I'm to the inside of the actual blade, and in between the shoulder blade and the spine, there's a real juicy bit of muscle in there that you can get into and release. And again, you can either move on the ball, or when you get to a spot that's really tight, you might stay there and just let it release. You can have a play with having your arm down by your side, or you might move it all the way up over your head. This one right here is feeling good for me today, so I'm going to leave it here. And I'm just going to roll that out. And you can have a play with lifting your hips and just moving around on the ball. And then I'll do the other side. And because I do this quite a lot, I'm quite practiced at where I need to place the ball, but it might take you a little bit longer to find the right spot. So be patient with yourself. And you don't have to do all of these spots all at once on the first try. The first day you might just have a play with your feet. Spend some time releasing the bottoms of your feet. Or if your shoulders are tight, just do that. Give yourself a bit of time to get used to it and to try it out. And then as you start to notice the benefits of it and feel how good it feels in your body, you might, add something more the next time. But I think the key to any kind of a practice like this, any kind of home practice, is to build it up in small steps and to keep it manageable and attainable and sustainable, so that you're not, trying to do, an hour-long practice every day, because you'll never do it. It never happens, especially not at first. So if you start with 5 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes, 2 minutes, however long, 30 seconds, just start. And then your body almost starts to crave it after you know what it feels like and how good it feels. You just start to do it automatically, and it's really good self-care. So that's the shoulders, and again, you can come onto your back, give yourself a little squeeze, close your eyes, take a breath, and just feel that nice sensation in the shoulders. Notice how long your neck feels and how good that all feels in the whole body. And then the last thing that I wanted to look at for today is taking our block, and we can get up into the back of our neck here. So I'm going to get into the base of the skull, and if you take your fingers, you can feel that sort of tight area at the base of the skull. It feels good when you massage it, and you want to get into that with your block. So you're going to put the block down behind you and lie down on your back. I like to take it and put it up on an edge so that I'm just getting the side of the block into the base of my skull. I plant my feet down on the mat, and I use that bit of resistance in my feet, and my abs are actually a little bit engaged, so I'm using some core resistance as well to kind of earth my body down. And then I'm relaxing through the back of my neck and tucking my chin. Ideally, I wouldn't be talking. And then I'm just going to let my head roll side to side, and I'm going to let that release through the back of my neck. If you tend to get migraines, or if you've got any kind of neck issues, if you've had whiplash, I would recommend just having a chat with a yoga teacher, with a physio, with somebody that you trust to know before you do this, because I wouldn't recommend getting into these little tiny spots in your neck without being properly guided if you do have issues there. But if you're all good, if you just get tight in through here, then definitely use this to release. So take a few deep breaths and let that open up and let it go. And then when you've had enough, you can come to lie all the way back. Take a nice deep breath and exhale. And let yourself just chill for a few breaths. And you might just leave it there. Or you might continue on and stay where you are. So again, taking responsibility for your own body, your own practice. and what you're doing today and every day. That's it from me for today. Thank you for joining.